Today on the ConverStation, I sit down with Michael James, the creator of Aeon Valley, a bi-weekly webcomic series about an unlikely group of misfits who live in a modern world which has currents of sci-fi and fantasy just below its surface. Also, along the way, I derail us into talking about Mighty Number 9, Breath of the Wild, and the punk rock nature of being an unknown creator. Enjoy! Hi, this is John. I'm sitting in the back room of Hi-Fi Brewery once again, but this is not Agree to Disagree. I'm sitting here talking to my friend Michael James, creator of what I would consider a critically under-reviewed, under-read webcomic called Aeon Valley. Go ahead and say hi.
Well, that's very generous of you, first of all. Howdy, my name is Michael James, and like he said, I'm the writer, artist, all of that for my webcomic, Aeon Valley.
Yeah, so just a little background. We know each other through DigiPen.
That's right, yeah.
We went there for many years together, and you started working on this comic series during our senior year at that school.
Yeah. That's when I first started actually putting steps towards making it a reality. But it's an idea that I've been sort of kicking around in my head and refining for far longer. It actually dates back to a comic that I drew in high school. It's sort of a refinement of that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So can you tell me what sort of changes, just off the top of your head, is it a direct relation to the comic that you did when you were in high school, or?
Yeah, sort of. The thing I did in high school was pretty bad. Just looking back at it now, I had fallen into the trap that a lot of webcomics fell in, where it started out as a video game comic about video game shit and gag-a-day type of stuff.
Yeah, sort of like a Control-Alt-Delete kind of thing.
Yeah. I didn't want to say it, but yeah, it was very Control-Alt-Delete, where I started out doing video game type of humor, and as I went on with it more, I found that I didn't really like doing that much, and far more preferred graphic novel type long form stories.
Yeah.
So it sort of evolved from that, and so when I started planning out Aeon Valley, I just completely cut out all of the video game stuff and made it clear right from the get-go that it's a long-form story.
Well, even though it's not directly related to video games, you every time I read an issue of, or every time you release a page of the comic, which you do twice a week.
Yeah, I try.
Usually.
Yeah.
It's still, even though it's not directly video game related, it still has things that remind me of Scott Pilgrim, or
for sure,
just an epic fantasy RPG that happens to take place in a modern day setting.
Yeah. I definitely took a lot of inspiration from a lot of video games that I played growing up, which is, I don't know, it's kind of weird, I guess. I didn't grow up with a lot of comics, or they weren't a huge inspiration to me growing up.
You weren't one of those people that had the box in the comic shop with
yeah.
Every month you had 15 or 20 different comics that you.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because my dad was always way into comics, and he still is. He still gets. I know he still subscribes to Batman and stuff, and I seem to recall there being a lot of X-Men and stuff sort of in the house growing up, but and I always thought it was, pretty cool, but it never really, like, I guess caught my attention the way that video games did. So, yeah.
I think in a lot of ways with our generation, video games kind of replaced comic books,
Yeah.
Or the sci-fi novel.
Yeah, in some senses, I would say so, yeah.
I mean, there's still a lot of love for those things, but by and large, like, if you're, like, I don't know, like us, kind of nerdy.
Yeah.
Kind of like the quiet, nerdy people who sat in the back of the classroom and
Yeah.
You were either going to be like a goth kid or you're going to be super into comics
Right.
or video games or all of them.
Yeah.
So why did you decide to make a webcomic? Like, what was the original reason you wanted to start doing that?
I guess because it's the most accessible way to, like, share that kind of story. Like, you can't always, it's tough for complete newcomer to just come to, like, a publisher or whatever with no previous, like, formal comics experience and, like, get, like, a publishing deal or whatever. Mm-hmm. So that's sort of the beauty of the internet, is that everyone can have a chance to publish their own stuff. And so basically webcomics was just the medium that I guess would let me share that kind of work.
Sort of like a publishing online is a path of least resistance. So
Yeah,
you don't get a lot of people telling you that you can't do it. Or
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
That's why I started doing this and
Yeah.
the YouTube series and all that.
Exactly.
You can't sit around waiting for someone to ask you to do it.
Right.
Yeah, I can totally respect that. So I'm genuinely curious, like, and you can answer this or not, but
Okay.
how far out have you planned out the story?
Oh. Well, I have it, like, the general, like, outline of the story, like, planned out start to finish. I'm, like I said, it's sort of a refinement of this story I wrote in high school. So I have a, pretty good idea of where I want the whole thing to go. But I'm always sort of, like, I've got the basic skeleton down, but I flesh it out, like, as I go along, and every once in a while I'll, like, come up with, like, new story ideas to sort of add on and see how they, like, fit with everything else that I have planned. And so it's the basic outline is, like, rigid and in place, but, like, all of the details, like, getting there is, I would say, pretty fluid. And I still, like, constantly come up with new stuff that I sort of play around with.
Yeah. So
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. But and then, like, even going more granular than that, I have, like, actual pages, like, thumbnailed and scripted out. I think right now I'm, like, 20 or 30 pages ahead. I'd like to be a lot farther, but that's all right. I'll get there eventually.
Oh, if only you had more than 20 pages ahead of you.
You
need a little bit more of that buffer.
Yeah, well, I mean, writing and, like, thumbnailing it out doesn't take that long. Like, I used to have it, like, an entire chapter ahead, but past, like, year or so, I got hit by writer's block pretty hard, so I kind of took a hit on that buffer, but that's all right.
Hey, everyone gets writer's block occasionally, and like, listen to me. Apparently, like, I've never had writer's block.
Yeah, no, I know what you meant.
I hear normal people have writer's block.
Yeah.
No, there's that old saying that there's nothing more daunting than a blank canvas.
Yeah, I feel that.
And thankfully, at least you have characters, and at this point you probably know how they interact with each other.
I would say, yeah, for the most part.
So it's okay to have a bit of writer's block and letting yourself cool down for a little bit, and
take some, self-care time.
Yeah, I've definitely been learning that a lot over the past year or so.
No, that's been one of the really nice things about me and my buddy Andrew when we do agree to disagree.
Yeah.
It is such a low entry point for both of us to just like, what do you want to watch this week? What do you want to do this week? All right, let's do this. And like, you can kind of just come up with it on the fly,
right,
and do like an hour of research. So it's been really comforting to know that I can have something every week.
Yeah.
But like stuff like this, planning for something like interviewing a friend of mine or another professional in some field that's related, or trying to find a game to talk about for Free Play Arcade, that is terrifying to me every time I sit down.
Right, yeah. Yeah, the like the faster you can like get, whatever initial like planning steps out of the way and basically not have a completely blank canvas, like the better, I think.
Yeah, it's good that you have, I'm assuming you have thumbs for those 20 pages, 20, 30 pages.
Yeah.
They're not just like scripted out.
No, I couldn't, a lot of people like, do like scripts and thumbnails separately, but I couldn't ever really, scripting never really felt natural to me. Like I needed to like lay the actual panels out and fill in the dialogue like at the same time. So I take care of both of those steps at once, just because that's the process that feels the most natural to me.
Yeah, one of the things that I like about Aeon Valley is that each page doesn't necessarily need to end with a punchline.
Yeah,
like sometimes it's a continuation of a story. It feels like something that was meant to be eventually turned into something physical, or something that you could just go back and read through the entire chapter all at once.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's really cool. Like,
Thank you.
No, because like the first webcomic I could think of that's similar in format to yours, I don't even know if it's still around. It's been years since I've looked into it. Is Apple Geeks.
Oh yeah.
But they also had the full page format.
Right.
But they still always felt like it always felt like they had to have like a full joke in one page.
Yeah.
It's, there's so much more you can do with it if you kind of free yourself from that mentality.
It's it can get exhausting trying to cram a joke in every page. Speaking as someone who tried and spectacularly failed at doing that for quite a while.
Believe me, I try to be funny every day. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is something that's really, really kind of been bugging me in the back of my brain about the story thus far.
Okay.
What's Alistair's deal?
Just in general, he's kind of a...
So let me give some background first.
Sure.
For anyone who might be listening to this, of the 10 people who will probably listen to this, the two main characters that the story starts with are Ellis and Alistair. They also have their friend Elle, and but initially you don't know anything about him,
right? Except
for the fact that he's just some really nice guy that they hang out with.
Yeah.
Ellis is kind of like a carefree kind of guy, but he also doesn't really have his life together.
I'd say that's fair.
I mean, that's a mean way of putting it. He's carefree.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. And Alistair, on the other hand, is sort of like the opposite side of the coin of Ellis, where it's like he cares a little too much about everything.
Yeah. Yeah. He has a sort of difficult time, like, opening up to pretty much anyone aside from Ellis. But yeah, I don't know. It's the best way I'd put it is that I think the three main characters, Ellis, Alistair, and May, are all like different aspects of my own personality. That's sort of how I look at them anyway. So like Alistair is kind of like the part of me that, kind of keeps to myself and doesn't really like to interact with people unless I have to. Whereas Ellis and May are more towards like the kind of person that I'm trying to be, you know, more outgoing, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that answers your question at
No,
all.
actually, that does very well. Because as a person, you know, I don't know you terribly well. We were friends from school, but
Yeah.
I can definitely see how, at least because I don't know much about May.
Yeah. She
But-
she's not too prominent in the story yet, but her parts are, you know, coming up.
But I definitely am not surprised that Ellis and Alistair are kind of analogs of you.
Yeah.
And parts of your personality.
Yeah.
Another question that's been digging at me for a while.
Sure.
Are they ever going to go back in time again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, I'm not gonna just like introduce a thing and then leave it hanging forever. No, there's more time travel ahead for sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm not going to dig any further than that.
Yeah.
I just needed to know.
Yeah.
So I get kind of my concern was that you were building like this kind of like almost Lost kind of like I'm gonna throw some stuff at the wall and maybe I'll go back to it
like
later.
see what sticks. No. No, I have all of that like planned out. I sort of like I want to, you know, visit like certain aspects of the story like in different intervals. So like I introduced like the sort of time travel aspect. Right now it's more of I'm exploring more of like a slice of life stuff with you know, the band that Ragnar is trying to set up, and I want to like play around with that for a while. But yeah, I'm sort of like trying to like establish all of these storylines so that they can sort of like interconnect and weave along with each other later on as things progress. So
Yeah.
hopefully it comes together in a cohesive way by the end, but I guess we'll see.
Now, you brought up the band that Ragnar is starting.
Yeah.
In your mind, what do you imagine his band sounds like?
That's a good question.
Or rather, since they haven't played yet, and I have no idea if they're going to rock or be totally like Wild Stallions levels of terrible. What do they sound like in Ragnar's head?
Oh. I think I'd describe Ragnar's style of music as sort of like a cross between like Tenacious D and like the Proto Men.
Okay. Oh man.
Yeah,
There is a team up that I never knew I wanted.
Yeah, I guess it would lean a bit more towards the Proto Men. Like there's not really a huge like comedy aspect as far as like what he's trying to accomplish, but just sort of as far as like the musical side of things.
I mean, but if it, in my mind, Tenacious D Proto Men team up would be kind of
That
like,
would be
like it doesn't have to be funny songs.
Yeah.
But like just the passion.
Yeah.
Of Jack
yeah.
Black wailing on a guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like and an acoustic guitar. Team that up with like the sort of synth rock that. Oh man.
Hell yeah.
I could totally get down on that.
Yeah.
Like I just got chills thinking about that.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. On a scale of 1 to 10, how disappointed in Mighty Number 9 were you?
Oh, Mighty Number 9.
I've only bring that up because I was watching a video this morning that was a teardown of like all the game design mistakes that they did.
Yeah. I thought it was okay. I mean, obviously I don't think it lives up to, you know, like the classic series or even the X series. I was talking about it a bit with my dad over the summer though, because he read all of the negative reception to the game, and that actually prompted him to like download it and play it for himself.
Yes, there is no such thing as bad publicity.
Yeah, I guess, but I mean, like, and he's pretty much on the same page as I am, where like he thought it was fine, like it wasn't, you know, the most like groundbreaking thing ever, but also I don't know, it it was fine.
Yeah. No, the thing is, I started playing the game, but I got distracted by a bunch of other things. But from what I got out of what I played from it, and the reason I brought this up is because we were talking about the Proto Men. In the video I was watching, there's the stage where they're on the freeway.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And there's like
Proto Men billboard. Yeah, yeah.
But
there's an Ego Raptor one too, I think.
Yeah, there is. Like it's a game that it could almost be there.
Yeah, it has the foundation of a like really fun like speedrunning that game under the right circumstances like could have been like really fun. I think the whole like dashing into enemies to absorb them, like I think it's a cool idea for an action game. I think it was just mired down by a lot of like technical problems brought on by the fact that they were trying to release it for 10 different platforms at once.
That probably doesn't help.
Yeah.
Also, they're trying to make a game that they could set up as a proper successor or love letter to the Mega Man franchise as a whole.
Yeah.
And that's got to...
There's an incredible amount of pressure to live up to that legacy, and I don't know, like pitching it as a successor to Mega Man. I mean, obviously that's what it was, whether they pitched it that way or not. Right. But yeah, that's a high bar to live up to for sure. Yeah. Also, like the developer of the game, Inti Creates, they've done a lot of stuff with previous Mega Man games. Like they did Mega Man 9 and 10, and they also did the entire Mega Man 0 series for the GBA, which is, I would say, my favorite out of all of the like different Mega Man sub-series.
Haven't they also worked on the Gunvolt games?
Yes. Yeah. They also did Gunvolt for the 3DS, which I also love a lot. But like, that's the thing, is that like they're working with, engines that I get the sense they aren't terribly familiar with. You know what I mean? Maybe. Like, it seems like the game just wasn't optimized well. Because I know that those guys are, perfectly capable of creating like fun, solid, 2D action games.
I mean, heck, like, they threw out that Mighty Gunvolt crossover free game.
Yeah.
That was fun. I played that thing over and over and over.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, they know what they're doing, but I don't know. I guess there was just a lot of stuff that got in the way. I'm no expert on game development, obviously, but I have faith that if they got another chance, I think they could salvage the like franchise or whatever. Like,
all the things that I was looking at and that were being called up as criticisms of the game, I'm looking at the game and it's like a lot of this stuff could be fixed with like a patch.
Yeah.
Like it cost money to do, obviously.
Yeah, sure.
Or real passionate fans.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like the game is salvageable anyway.
Yeah.
Then that's it for Mighty Gunvolt Corner.
Yeah.
Okay, so back on the topic of Aeon Valley, you mentioned that you have like a planned out story. So does that mean that there is an actual ending?
Oh yeah.
To the story?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that still far out?
Yeah, it's a long ways out.
All right.
It could be, God, I don't know, a decade. Like, who knows? I have no idea how long it's going to take me to get through everything. But
I mean, that sounds fine to me, as long as you still love doing it.
Yeah.
I hope that this doesn't end up being something that like 10 years from now you're just like cursing it. Like, you've ruined me.
Yeah. I hope so too. I mean, it gets rough sometimes, like, doing it every day, but like, I don't know, I still love it. Like, I couldn't imagine, not drawing comics. So
yeah, I go through that same thing on my channel where people the first thing that they ask is like, do you make money doing that? And
yeah,
the immediate thing is like, no, I can't not do it.
Right, exactly.
Like, I'd love to make money doing it, and I'm going to try, and I think that's part of the reason I have you on here right now, is to help I figured that maybe I could add to your readership by about 3
Yeah,
people.
get that synergy going, man.
We need to help each other out a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. More people need to check out your show too, man. It's great.
But, I think what you're doing is a lot more work and really, what you have is something really, really special. And I feel like what I got is just another kind of noise in the YouTube sphere.
Wow.
Kind of thing. I'm trying. I'll figure it out at some point.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm gonna stop picking on myself.
Yeah.
What have you been playing recently?
I just finished up Breath of the Wild like a week or 2 ago.
Yeah, can we gush about that for a second?
Hell yeah.
Oh my god. I've never had a game that I sat down and played for hundreds of hours, and then now that I've beaten it, I still just load it up just to wander around.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily have to do anything. I'll just open it up, and it's like, you know what? I'm gonna climb that mountain.
Yeah.
And now I'm gonna shield sled down the mountain that I just climbed.
Yeah. It's I don't know how they're gonna top that, because like, man, it's like everything you could ever want in a game.
Yeah, I'm actually really concerned about the DLC. Like,
yeah.
There's this, $20, not a lot of money.
Sure.
The DLC that's coming out in like a month, 2 months, something like that.
Something like that.
The DLC that's coming out relatively soon.
Yeah, I think the first wave is like August or something.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that.
So when that comes out, it's not going to add a whole lot. It's going to add like the hard mode and stuff like that. And
it's like a shrine of challenges or something.
So that thing that's been
some new feature for the map, whatever that means.
Well, it sounds to me like what they're adding is the stuff that's been in all of the other Zelda games.
Yeah.
You have the hard mode, and then also like the thing where you go down deeper and deeper and deeper fighting enemies, and you can't leave.
Yeah, right.
Okay. And don't get me wrong, it's a welcomed addition, just like finally adding battle mode back into Mario Kart.
Yeah.
But the DLC that they're going to release in December at the end of the year.
Yeah.
That's what I'm cautiously optimistic about.
The new like storyline or dungeon or whatever.
Right. They're going to be adding something of some sort of substance to the game.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder, like, A, is that going to be it for DLC for the game?
Right.
And B, is the thing that they add going to be anything, like, because your brain can go in any direction. Like, oh, they're going to let you play as Zelda. Because that was something that they had considered at some point early on in development.
That'd be rad.
Or like, is it going to be Hyrule before Calamity Ganon? Or it's like, in my mind, it's like, no, Nintendo's not going to do that.
Yeah, probably not.
No.
But like, who knows, right? Like, there's so much unexpected stuff in that game. Like,
it's the scary thing about when you know nothing.
Yeah.
Suddenly, all these people have expectations about what's going to happen.
Right.
And it's hard to just remain cautiously optimistic.
Yeah.
Because, man, wouldn't it be great? Like, even if it just continues the game right after the end, where, no spoilers, I guess, but
sure.
Like, the way that it ends after you have defeated all the shrines, there's some dialogue at the end where it's like, oh, now we're gonna go over here and do this thing, and it's like, if it just builds off of that, like, suddenly there's like other things that need to happen post, like, sort of like a kind of like an epilogue quest.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Just
maybe.
I'm terribly excited.
Yeah.
But also I know that nothing I'm excited about is going to happen.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. I don't know. I haven't put a whole lot of thought into it, I guess, so I don't really know what to expect.
I guess this is what I spend an inordinate amount of time doing. Honestly, like, this morning I was sitting at my computer editing the episode of my podcast that I released today.
Yeah.
Which is Dogma Part 1. And the entire time I was sitting there listening, because I'm not a huge fan of listening to my own voice, I spent a lot of time thinking about video games that would be nice to make. Or sometimes I've started reworking on bus weight during those periods of time.
Oh, wow, nice.
Because do you remember bus weight?
Vaguely.
Yeah. So a couple years ago, I started making this game where the whole premise is that you wait for a bus for a half an hour.
Yeah.
And it was almost done, and then my hard drive had crashed.
Oh.
And I put it off for a long time.
Yeah, that kind of thing can be pretty discouraging.
But now it's this thing where it's like, I'll just do that while I'm doing other things.
Yeah.
And it's been really nice.
Awesome.
I made a whole sprite sheet of environment assets. And
cool.
I think I might have actually figured out a way to do game development while I'm working on the show still.
Awesome.
Who's to say when the arm wrestling arcade's going to get done? But yeah.
Take one thing at a time, man.
I think it's one of the benefits of having a small viewership.
Nobody's holding your feet to the fire.
Yeah. Honestly, I honestly believe that if it were the other way around, that would help keep me on track if I felt like I was actually like...
Yeah.
But that also sounds like a lot of extra pressure.
I think that would kind of sap some enjoyment out of it. But I mean, what the hell do I know?
right now we've got this nice little punk rock thing going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we can do this or we can stop doing it. Who cares? Let's do it for the love of it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Just making a thing.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Arm Wrestle Arcade, by the way, did I ever thank you for throwing the fist
champion? Yeah,
yes.
You did.
For the record, folks, you can find that in page number 261.
Oh.
I looked it up again this morning just to make sure.
I see.
I think that's about all the questions I have for you right now. I might harass you again in the future, but
yeah, man. Anytime you want to have me back, just say the word.
Yeah, no problem. Well, dude, it's been a serious pleasure.
Hell yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks again for listening to this episode of the ConverStation. If you're interested in checking out Aeon Valley, you can find it at aeonvalley.com. That's AeonValley. We'll catch you next time with the ConverStation.